Hi, this is webkinz96, and today I'm going to show you how to make a little webkinz backpack. And I did this one already, but I'm going to show you how to make it now. This one I made with like a little drawstring. I think the one I make now, I'm just going to have like a little flap, like a little book bag flap. So I'll show you how I did it. I started with my pattern out of a piece of paper, and I took the piece of paper and I folded it in half and just made like a giant U out of it, as in kind of like the shape of the backpack. So I mean, you can get an idea of the size of it because it's half the sheet of paper, and then just cut your giant U out. And this one will turn out to be about this size once it's all done. This is a little tighter up at the top because of the strings, but I'll show you when you get your pattern onto your fabric and then when you cut it. And I'm going to actually make it like a little bit bigger because this is just the littlekins, and it fits perfect. It's a little baggy, but it's just a little too snug for a full-size kins. So I'm going to make the bag a little bit bigger and the straps just a little bit longer than what I did last time for this one, so that I can use it on a full-size kins. Because these will be like the little kids in school, like a different grade when I do my webkinz school video. So for the bigger pattern, I just laid this on a full-size sheet, laid it sideways, and just traced around about 3 more spaces, 3 more lines, like 3 more line width bigger, and just traced it around. It doesn't have to be perfect, it's just going to end up as a backpack anyways, and you're not going to notice any imperfections anyways. I'm just using an old sweatshirt, or an old hoodie for the fabric, and I'm going to take it and fold, or this part is the fabric piece I need to use, and I'm going to fold it in half. The material part's folded in half so that I can put my pattern on and only cut around, and I only have to cut around once. And with the little curve, like the edge of it, I don't have to sew this bottom line. It makes like a natural curve. It'll be the bottom of the bag. So I'll cut this pattern out. And I actually put a few pins in it so that it keeps the paper in place while I'm lifting and cutting around. Our pattern is cut, and it's both sides of the bag, and I'll take the pins out, and here is the start of our bag. Now before we sew the actual part of the bag, I am going to take these are the top parts of the bag, and I will take it and go inside out with it and turn the little edges in a little bit, and then sew across, like both sides, flip it in and sew across so that it has like a little edge. In this one I actually used the little edge to put the string in, but I'm not going to have the string in on this one, so I'm just going to leave it just so it doesn't have like a random edge. It'll be nice and curved and smooth. So I'll show you how I curve it, like flip it over and sew it. There's the edge turned over, and you just sew it and sew all the way to the end. And you can see that this is like the top of the bag, and it's got like a little edge on it, and it's nice and smooth. For the flap of the backpack, for this, I cut out like a square is about as thick as the bag is on the top, and just cut out as big as that is and just made a square out of it, and about the same thickness here as, you know, for the flap. And I used the bottom of a hoodie so that it had this little edge on it already, but I still have to go in and turn in both of the side flaps. Like I already did the one, and I will go and turn the side flap in so that when it's, you know, hanging on the bag and being used as a flap on the bag, you won't see the edges. So I'm going to go ahead and sew the second side of that. Now I opened up the bag and I put the flat part on the top part of it, and it's going to be sewn across so that when the bag is closed it will look like that, like a little flap on it, but it needs to be sewn. Oh, I moved it. It will be sewn across in the stitch that's already on it, so it'll be harder to like see from the outside that you sewn this on afterwards. So I'll go ahead and sew that. And it will be easier to sew if you turn it like the good side up, and with that piece underneath, the flap underneath, you can just follow your little sew line that's already made. Those two parts are now sewn together, and if you turn it back and flip it inside there, you'll see that it'll, well, there's a loose thread, that it'll start to look like a flap for a backpack. And next step is to, well, get the flap out of the way, but I am going to sew the edges of the bag to sew it closed. I will start to sew the edge of the bag, but I will start a little bit like off-centered so that when I sew it I can turn the fabric and make a curve like at the bottom here. Like I'll sew it on a curve so that it will give that curved look at the edge of the bag. So both sides are sewed, as you can see, and to turn it back inside out, and that's what it looks like. And I'm going to make the little straps to go on the back of it, and I'll show you how it looks with the straps on. Now to make the straps, I just cut out 2 strips of fabric, and I'm going to take them and fold them in half and sew them together so that they're like a long tube. But once you're done sewing them together, you'll turn them back inside out to look like that. Now this is the strip sewn, and you're gonna turn it inside out, and it's easy to do with like a pen. You take the pen and you push and push in with the pen, and then pull the outside of this, and it'll just take a little time, but you'll get it. Now the 2 strips are sewn and turned inside out and ready to be put on, and they will be put on. This is the back side, the part that will be against the webkinz back. So this is the side that will be on the webkinz, and you want to take them and put them like this, and you will sew across here so that when you sew them and flip them over, it will look like this. But this is just how you do it to start, is to sew them both like this, and I will be using this line right here so that when I sew it on that line, it will match right up to the line once they're folded down, and I'll show you that in a second. See, they were both sewn now right along that same line, so that when I turn them down to make like the straps for the backpack, it looks like it's part of that seam. And now for the bottom, I'm going to take it, go a little loose so that you can put your webkin in it, and I will sew both of them together in like kind of a cross at the bottom, but on top of each other, and I'll go like right across them. I'll line them up and then sew it right on there so that it will give them like a strap. They are now both sewn like on top of each other, and I will clip away this extra stuff sticking up here and then like the stuff sticking up here. There, and the extras clipped away so it makes it look neater, and you are done. And I'll go get a webkinz and we'll model it. So I grabbed Gunner to be the model, and there he is with the backpack on, and the straps perfect fit. And it's a bigger size bag for the bigger webkins versus the littlekins in the little bag. And there you go, Gunner's all ready to go to school. And this has been how to make a webkins backpack, like a real backpack. So, thanks for watching.